So I saw a video where the people who are against guns opened up a shop in New York City, and every single person who came into the shop got a gun. They wanted to buy something. Some of them said security. Some of them, it didn't show them, tell them what they wanted. But the people behind the counter were expressing what guns they had a bad story, obviously lying in the first place by saying it was the actual gun who killed people. Because when police take a gun that is evidence, they keep the gun. Usually they boil them down, destroy them, they destroy evidence. They can't resell things like that, not within a certain amount of time at the very least. And guns, pretty sure that you can't just go out and buy every single murder weapon. Anyway, my reply is that I'm very offended by this, because they're trying to say that the guns are the bad thing. And I know we keep going back and forth. Guns don't kill people, people do. But think about this. If I take a glass bottle and I break the end of it off and I stab a hobo 26 times with a glass bottle, you're going to ask what's wrong with me. If I take a baseball bat and I just bledge my neighbor to death with a baseball bat, I'm an evil racist for doing such a thing. Yeah. If I hit someone with the car, they take my license away because I don't know how to drive. So then it becomes he can't drive thing. He's a deadly criminal and all this, that, and the other. It's not that cars are the issue. It's not that a glass bottle or a baseball bat is the issue. It's that I'm the issue. It's that people are at fault for their own violent crimes. Now, I'm not going to point fingers at anybody who's ever committed a crime. I don't know very many of them, but people that you've seen who mass murder, people who killed their wives and put them in blenders and all this other stuff, it wasn't a gun. No, it wasn't a gun. When Dick Cheney shot that guy, that may have been an accident. It really may have been an accident. But they knew to be safe, and they were choosing not to be safe. You don't fire a gun in front of someone unless you intend to kill them. That is the biggest mistake that everyone makes. They think that everyone just runs around and plays with guns. And it's not true. Some people try to be safe, and then there's other people who aren't safe. Instead of saying that we shouldn't have guns, I think we should have free classes to teach you how to correctly use a gun. If you buy a gun, it usually comes with a free lock, because you should lock the gun. It's not something you keep loaded in your pocketbook at Walmart in the same shopping cart as your child who gets into everything. Either you discipline your child or you lock your gun. Either you take care of your children like a responsible adult because you're responsible, or you're not responsible and you shouldn't own a gun or a child. Again, if you're not responsible, you shouldn't have something that can take someone's life. Also, though, if you're not responsible, you shouldn't be in charge of someone's life. Now, if you're responsible, you're probably taking care of your own life. You probably make choices. You probably foresee accidents. If I was to give a lot of people guns right now, they might would just take them and put them under their bed and put them in the corner. That's incorrect. They might decide to put them in their truck or load them up with 5 12-gauge cartridges and then just leave them somewhere. That's incorrect. I had a friend tell me the other day, the only thing you need to do with that gun is to put a couple shells in it and leave it in your bedroom. No. You leave it unlocked. Whoa. you leave it unloaded. You leave it half cocked where the barrel is open all the different designs. It's kind of hard to explain, but you're going to leave it where you can see that it's unlocked, unloaded. You're going to leave it. I'll mess up my own video. You have to leave any and all guns where it's clear that they're not loaded. Then you have to have it locked so that it's clear only the person with the key can get into it. Then you have to have the gun in a separate location away from the bullets. You have the key, the bullets are in a different location, the gun is locked and safe, it will not unlock itself, load itself, fly into your hands, and shoot someone. There was a guy in the U.S. Senate who is against guns, and he was robbed, or they attempted to rob him at his house in the middle of the night. If you Google it, U.S. Senator uses gun to protect himself from robbers. Actually has a big article on this older guy who has a gun who is against guns. He's telling everybody else not to have guns, and he's got one in his house and used it for self-defense. So, all of these people who are telling y'all that you can't have guns are pretty much liars. They're going to keep a gun. They're going to defend themselves. The Catholic Pope says that you can't have a gun and make it into the kingdom of heaven. But have you seen the basement of the Catholic Church that he resides over? The Catholic Pope is responsible for over 1,500 guns. A man who tells you not to own guns has 1,500 in control of 1,500 by himself. I own 3. 1,500. 1,500. And how many of those 1,500 guns that the Pope has killed anybody? I ain't heard of one. Not a one of them. But we're not allowed to own one because our one gun might kill somebody. The president says that we don't need guns. He's in charge of the whole military. Tanks. That's just a gun with wheels. I've never seen a tank rolling down the street by itself, mass murdering people. They should have kept that tank locked up with the bombs way over there. No, I mean even if you keep a tank loaded, because I'm pretty sure the bullets are inside the actual vehicle area, it's still a pretty safe vehicle, right? It don't just go driving through the town by itself shooting people, and neither does a handgun. And so that video that they posted of New Yorkers turning down guns after hearing the bad side of guns, they weren't told the right story. They're being told that every gun you buy has already killed someone. Their phrase in this video is, every gun has a story. Let's not repeat it. 2 of my guns are brand new. They've only been shot once. They ain't never killed anybody. It may be recycled metal. May be brand new metal. But that gun ain't killed nobody. It ain't hurt nobody. It ain't injured nobody. Well, I'll go ahead and fess up. The first time I cocked that shotgun, it kind of clipped my skin on my hand right here. That was my fault. I didn't know how to use it. You have to get familiar with them. And I cocked it up on my hand. But I didn't shoot nobody. A bullet didn't hit me. Nothing. A moving part kind of chunked me. People put their hands in doors when they get in cars and get out of cars. I bumped my head getting out of a Mustang earlier. Twice. So that kind of accident happens. Not that I'm saying people shooting each other as an accident happens. But accidents happen. And smart people prevent accidents. Smart people think ahead. Smart people protect themselves. If you're afraid the gun's going to go off, don't keep bullets in it. If you're afraid that a fire might set off bullets, which they actually kind of won't, it'll do whatever it does, but it has to have a chamber on the gun for the bullet to go through before it has an actual aim. If you have a whole bunch of bullets in a fire, it's going to be just like a soda can or a spray can of aerosol hairspray or a paint can. It's just going to kind of go boom, and that's it. Nothing that your house doesn't already have in it. Keep your bullets separate from your gun. And then keep your gun locked. If you're afraid someone's going to break in on you, keep your keys on you. Yeah, someone breaking through the door, you might be more worried about getting to the gun and being able to fidget with the keys. But I guarantee you, if somebody sees that you're pretty close to your gun and they can't see that the lock's on it, or they can't tell that you ain't got it halfway unlocked, they ain't gonna take a chance that there's already a bullet in it just in case you can get the trigger lock off. And if you don't sleep at your front door, you probably got a minute or two to get that damn lock off. You probably got a minute or two to get that trigger lock off. You probably have a minute or two to put a shell in it, which I would not suggest loading it even if a criminal comes in your house. I have a fake shell for one of my single shotguns. The shell has already been shot and it's empty. And I just slide it in, and I pretty much figure if somebody runs into my house and they see me snap it shut with anyway, you get the point. I don't need to be advertising that, because then everybody coming through my house to rob me is going to call the shots. But basically, you got to think safe. You can't be an idiot and then try to own a gun. You shouldn't be an idiot and try to own a child. So many of these kids who've killed people and shot people because of a handgun, they didn't know any better. The people who bought the guns knew better. The parents knew better. The gun owners knew better. The gun didn't tell them to do anything. Their parents weren't paying attention. Their parents were bad parents. And I'm sure every one of them are going to want to say, you know, I'm not a bad parent. I want to keep my child. I don't want to lose them because of a mistake. Fess up and say you made a mistake. It won't the gun. The kid who got the 2-year-old who got a hold of a handgun and shot his 8-year-old brother and killed him. Where was the parent? Where was the parent? Was the parent cowering in fear in the corner? Oh my God, he's got a gun? Who taught the 2-year-old how to load a magazine into the gun? Who taught him how to load the bullets into the magazine? Who gave him the key to unlock the pistol trigger? Who taught him how to aim? I'm pretty sure he pulled the trigger way more than once. Or if he did it just once, that the mom should have been there. She won't cower in fear in the corner somewhere. She was out doing whatever she wanted to do. And where was the dad? Yeah. There was a mom who got her hand shot in a grocery store, and she got charged for it. Her child was in the grocery shopping cart, and she had her like pocketbook, the big pocketbooks that some of the women carry around, in her child's lap with the handgun loaded, unlocked, ready to fire without the safety on. Inside of her pocketbook, widespread open. It wasn't in a separate compartment. It wasn't zipped up anywhere. It was wide open, actually where if someone had a scene, they would have been afraid. Concealed carry is to conceal and carry. Not to walk around waving it in the air and having it sit right out on top of your pocketbook and laying on that top shelf of your shopping cart while you shop so other people see it. Guns aren't for looks, they're for protection. And what she had was an unsafe gun where if she'd have thrown anything into her pocketbook, could have hit the trigger and shot somebody because she loaded it. She figured out how to load it. She went and bought one. She got the clips. She paid for the bullets. She put the bullets in the clip. She put the clip in the gun. She put the gun in the bag and then let her kid play with her bag. Where's the logic there? Somebody might say if she didn't buy the gun that she would have been fine. I disagree. Somebody who's such a bad parent in the first place is the same bad parent who might let that child later on in his life go out and buy one for himself and not care whether or not he handles it appropriately. The New Yorker on Facebook has, let me double check that. Is it New Yorker? Yeah, New Yorkers on Facebook have tried to make it look like it's entirely the gun's fault. And I want to ask, who are these people? They're telling you it's the gun's fault. Are these going to be the people who take away our guns and then they shoot us because they got guns? People who usually want to place the blame on other people can't take blame for anything. They don't want to take responsibility for anything. They're acting like they know how to run our lives. But when push comes to shove, they ain't going to be responsible. They don't want to be responsible. Well, none of us want to be responsible for the crackhead down the street, or the prostitute down the street, or the kleptomaniac that steals compulsively, or the pyromaniac who likes to set things on fire, or the rapist, or the pedophile that commit crimes. These people don't do things because they're legal. They're doing illegal things because they know they want to, or because they can't help themselves. People who can't help themselves are the problem. People who can't take responsibility, people who can't admit they have a problem, are the problem. People who are afraid to say, I better not go near no fires or any matches, I might light something on fire, they're the problem. If you know that you're going to steal something, you probably shouldn't be in public by yourself. If you know you're going to steal something, you might need to go see some counseling for it. If you think putting a gun in your hand that you're going to kill somebody, you don't need to buy a gun. You don't need to buy a gun. But for those who know how to handle a gun, you need to let them buy a gun. If you take the guns out of every citizen's hands, what about the military? What about the military? They're not allowed to have guns on their bases right now. There was a guy who shot up a military base. The military people did not have guns. Well, let's take a step even farther. A whole nation without guns. Where does that put them? When the Americans came to America, they said pilgrims, the still Britain loyal people, came to America and had no guns at the point of the big wars that we had to get our independence. We had to steal more guns from the Britain soldiers. So that kind of left us high and dry without guns. They came over with guns. People from Mexico come up with guns. I don't know whether I don't think Canadians have guns, or if they're allowed to have guns, or if they bring them over. I know they bring illegal drugs down because you can get them up from Canada cheap. But there's been a number of Hispanic people and illegal immigrants who get guns in Mexico. There's been a number of criminals here in America who go down to Mexico to buy guns because they can. That being said, meth, cocaine, weed, most of it's illegal in at least a number of states. In those states where cocaine, meth, and weed are illegal, who has it? Who has these illegal drugs? Criminals. Who are these criminals? Doesn't matter. They're criminals. I mean, it could be the president. It could be your cousin down the street. It could be that dude you went to school with, always smoking a blunt. Who are these guys that come to these schools and shoot up the place? For so long, we just thought they were people who went to school and got bullied. Just that guy, nobody knew. Well, became a criminal. He decided he wanted a gun to commit a crime. Well, when you want to get high, when you want to get smashed with some cocaine and throw a wild party and do tons of drinking and do tons of drugs, you're being a criminal. You have to ask somebody to buy something that ain't in stores. If you take the guns away from people, you ain't going to take them away from the criminals. They've been getting them under the radar for the longest time. You ain't going to get rid of all the guns everywhere. Nobody can. And I want to hear some people actually comment. People that have read my posts, people who've viewed my videos, and actually give me a good way, a solid way for people to ban all guns and legitimately still be safe. Because it seems like to me you're trying to turn people into chickens, trying to make us scared of everything, and then the people who they don't care about the rules anyhow aren't going to play by the rules. They're going to get guns, and since they don't have no money, they're going to go knock off a bank. They're going to go knock off an old folks home, old people with old jewelry that's really rare and got real gold in it. When they start holding people at gunpoint, no one's going to think about, well, if only I had a gun right now. They're going to be thinking about, crap. Why did I say no one should have guns? I need a gun. If I shot him right now, he wouldn't take out the rest of these people. Guns aren't bad. Anything can be bad. You can take a pencil and stab somebody through the eye and hit their brain with it, and if they didn't bleed to death and be blind and mentally disabled, they'd at least be very, very, very badly hurt, and that wouldn't stop you from stabbing them again and again with a pencil, a wooden pencil. You can beat somebody to death with that boat oar right there. You can hit somebody with a car. You can drive over their head with a tire. You can take a fork through someone's nose. A solid lead pipe. A couple of different medicines. Grind them into little powders. Put them in a little jar together. And make a little fuse. And light it. And the medicine will actually explode when the fuse gets inside the jar. Homemade bomb. Bombs kill people. The Boston bombers, you can't tell me those people were doing anything legal. But they definitely didn't use a gun. So, where is the justice by taking away the guns? And then think about this. Since the majority of Americans still want guns, if we keep pushing this on Americans, what's going to happen? Because Americans have always fought for their rights. And if a minority attempts to overthrow the entire American, Congress and the Americans' rights and that big piece of paper that our rights are written down on. Let's say it's not the Declaration of Independence, is it? Seems like everybody's forgotten. We have rights. They're on a bill. And people have signed it, and whether or not those names mean anything to you, they mean something to me and all the rest of the Americans that have rights and try to use them. If the Muslims want to come over here and cover their faces in public, which is vigilante and should be against the law, because criminals can just cover up their face and walk around after killing someone, after murdering someone, raping someone, and just no one can see him walking around. Oh, that's just some Muslim girl. He's walking right past you. You want to know who it was? Well, you can't Can't tell. You know, they got a right to have that religion here, as violent as those people are. The Christians have a right to their stuff. The Jews have a right to their stuff. Everybody has rights. And since if you try to target anybody and try to take away from what they want or what they believe or what is their right, they're going to retaliate. The people who feel like they have a right to own guns should not be targeted either. Taking away the rebel flag in South Carolina was wrong. The Syrians and Muslims are still proudly waving their flags and proudly boasting their points and arguments. Time for people to man up. Time for everyone to man up. As accident prone as I am, you'd think if anyone shot someone by now, it'd been me. I'd have been done tripped and thrown the gun. And it hit my truck and it shot a hole in the truck and the truck blew up and 5 casualties. No, I take good care of my guns. I have it in a gun case and then with a gun lock and a trigger lock with it half cocked so that you can see there's no bullets in it. And I keep the bullets in a box inside of another box in the kitchen. That box, the outer box, has a lock on it. No way anybody's going to get hurt like that. But if somebody tried to get into my house, and if I absolutely needed it, I can get to it. I'm very confident. Man up, America.